It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning at 10:06 a.m. on FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to Portland's automotive radio show, Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. Our team of misfits, rapscallions, and ne'er-do-wells in the studio, assembled to bring you the world's most up-to-date automotive news, reviews, and comment. So let's introduce them, a distinctive and mature gentleman. He has a distinct and mature outlook on life, and the show's official dad, Brad Boyer. Good morning, Dad.
Good morning. So I had some fun this week. I did the Rose Festival Parade and then went to the beaches, car show on Wednesday that goes on every Wednesday night at PIR. It starts at 4 o'clock.
Did you get your old car fix? You got that in?
I got my old car. It's 73 and younger, actually older cars.
Really?
So it's a phenomenal show out at PIR.
We need to get those guys on. Can we arrange that? Somebody get those guys on?
I'll make it happen.
All right. A man who's truly passionate about cars, but not much else, Sean Walker. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Nick.
What's your week been like?
Golf. I did a lot of golf. After the show, I'm even golfing today, so that's my whole week.
It's either golf or football with you, isn't it?
Golf, football, and racing.
You haven't got much else. Passionate about especially Volvos, not much else. And he went to the doctor this week and decided he was overweight. Oli, good morning.
That's not why I went to the doctor, but hello, everyone. And I want to say hello to a lady in a blue Astra van who rode my tail this morning and through a reduced speed zone decided to blow by me and gave me this hand gesture, which I can only describe on the radio as like if you put your fingers in a circle and move it back and forth like a shake
Inappropriate hand gesture would probably be a good way to
explain. I guess we could say that. But Karma pulled her over in a black and white Charger about 300 yards later because she wasn't paying attention to the road whatsoever or the officer sitting on the side of it. So,
how often do you see people on the road? This is for everybody. How often do you see people on the road who do something and you wish there was a cop there? Like just beg for it, and then it happens to you one time.
Yeah, and I would never root for somebody to get pulled over, but the fact that you make this whole thing, this whole production to let me know how you feel about me driving the speed limit, and it's in a location where if you know anything about the location, you don't speed through there. You don't speed through downtown Milwaukee. There's constantly cops down there.
And she got caught.
Yeah. And
after giving you a hard time.
Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, next to the farmer's market. Just take it easy.
Also, my pal and professional passenger, also the show's producer, Andrew Awesome is here. Good morning, Andrew.
Hello.
So how's your week been?
My week has been beautiful. I spent my time getting some free vitamin D, doing some work for the show, and spending a little time with you, my friend.
Excellent.
So it was great.
Good. Yes, we did spend some time together doing some preparation for this weekend's show. There's a packed show this morning. What we got on the show? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to talk to my friend Roman Micah from the Fast Lane Car. Roman is going to go to Czechoslovakia and drive a car back all the way to Pebble Beach. We're going to find out what, why, and when. Also, we're going to be talking to a designer who is responsible for the exterior of the new Lincoln MKC. And we'll be talking about the cars that Andrew let us test drive out of the Test Miles garage. But we're going to start the show off this week with a quiz. I've decided that we need to, build out our knowledge of the car industry and find out a little more about what's been going on. So in good news quiz fashion, I'll ask the questions, and then you guys can tell me the story behind the question.
Do we get to buzz in? What do we get to do?
No, I can assign you, or you can put your hand up. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Let's see how it goes. So this week, one of the big news stories, Lamborghini and Ferrari are currently in a three-way fight with an American supercar company.
That has to be my question.
Sean has his hand up.
So the car that they're talking about is a car I'm very passionate about. It's the new Corvette Z06. And they just rated it or put it on the dyno and got 650 horsepower out of the new Z06. There's only a handful of cars that actually have 600 horsepower out there. The Ford Shelby GT500, which Ford is now discontinuing. The Lamborghini, and excuse me if I butcher this name because I can't pronounce any Italian names
Huracan.
Huracan. I can't roll it and like that. But the Dodge Viper.
So the Huracan has 610 horsepower, right?
It has 600. Where did I have it? It has 610. There's the Ferrari FF, which has 651.
My favorite car, by the way.
The Dodge Viper, which is 640, and then the McLaren S50S or 650S, which is 641. And then Dodge also has the new Hellcat Challenger, which has 600.
Yeah, this new car will be a 2-liter supercharged V8, and it will actually have 29 miles a gallon for fuel economy for those green people out there. All right, good 1 point for Sean there. Ford and which company have joined in an alliance? Andrew?
Ding! Samsung.
Yeah.
I got it right.
My buzzer's not working.
Ding! Ding!
So, tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Ford and Samsung, they've partnered up to bring a hybrid drive technology to Ford's lineup of non-hybrid vehicles to increase the fuel economy. The technology has been a decade in the making, and it pairs a traditional lead-acid battery with a lithium-ion battery to allow for regenerative braking.
Yes, very good for Ford, too, and I'm glad that Samsung have found another way to get into the United States. Because they're everywhere.
Yeah, they need more exposure.
They have about twice as many TVs on the market as anybody else. Good. A point for you, Andrew, as well. All right. How's this going, by the way? Is everyone...
Ding!
Brad, your buzz is still... Wait.
I'm going in blind. I'm already buzzing in.
All right. Let's try another question for you. Nissan predicts that they currently have a fully autonomous car on the road by which year?
2020.
No, Brad, you're incorrect.
That's Maya's
Sean?
point. They were predicting 2020, but they're saying now that it will come out in 2018. They will have a self-driving car, but government now is having basically issues on how to govern how the vehicles will be on the road.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, there's only one state, as far as I know, that's issued self-driving car licenses and license plates, and that's New Mexico. So they're the first state to do that. So you can only license a self-driving car in New Mexico. Not that we have any to license, but that's the only place you can actually license.
Because Facebook is perfect for cat videos. There was a video about a self-driving car almost running over a cat, so they were having some issues with that.
Was that one of the new Google self-driving? Yeah, I've heard a lot. I haven't seen that. All right.
So in 4 years, Andy will be on the road, is what we're saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now, we need to have this discussion, because, of course, those
do.
people that listen to the show regularly know that Andrew doesn't actually, out of the 5 people on the studio, is the one person that doesn't have a driver's license. And on top of that, we had this discussion on the way in this morning. The discussion went something like this. I said, Andrew, you could actually, in 4 years' time, you could be riding in your self-driving car. And he goes, yeah, I'm not getting my driver's license now. And so then I said to him, well, wait a second. So you could have your driver's license in about 6 months if you got off your backside and did something about getting it. And yet you said, no, I'm waiting for the self-driving car. What's that about?
What? See, okay, here's the thing, Nick. I'm all for having that kind of cool, experience, and I get it. I get a car and everything. But why, man? In 4 years, I can just coast by on my good looks, and in 4 years, I can just get in a car and punch in the coordinates, and it'll fly me away.
How old are you?
That is
How old are
irrelevant.
you?
32.
All right.
So I'm going to say that people spend a lot of money with us at our limo company to have people drive them around. I'm not sure what his motivation is. He gets to sit there in all the nicest cars and have you drive him around.
Yeah, or me
I think we need
or
to do
his other
some,
family members or his girlfriend or...
Yeah, we need to have some tough love here.
I think
Is there gonna be an
it's been
intervention?
6 months of this show and we've given him nothing but tough love. Why didn't you have... Could somebody please help us with this man?
Well, look at what
Let's send him to driving rehab or something.
Well, look at what he spends annually in gas.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess how much I pay in insurance? Crickets.
All right. Do you feel like you got a good time with the news quiz?
I'm way more informed, and I don't even drive a car.
We could do some more news quiz questions later in the show if we have some more time. Still to come, we're going to be talking to Roman Micah. Roman is going to get this car from Czechoslovakia and drive it all the way to Pebble Beach this year. And we're also going to be talking to one of the exterior designers from Lincoln, and we'll find out what we've had out of the garage this week. You're on FM News 101 KXL. The show is Test Miles. Please go to our website, testmiles.com. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
I'm that right turn, by the way. Welcome back to Test Miles on FM News 101. I'm Nick Miles. If you'd like to join us on our website, testmiles.com, please visit the site and friend us on Facebook and Twitter. Have you ever heard of a car company called Tatra? It's a Czechoslovakian company. The company was originally formed in 1850. It went through several name changes and was originally producing wagons and carriages. In 1897, they produced the first motor car in Central Europe, and one of those cars today is still on the road, or some of those original ones are still in museums. It was called the President automobile. 1919, they started to use the Tetra badge on their cars, and they are one of the oldest car makers in the world, the third oldest car maker in the world behind Daimler and Peugeot. They also ceased to make cars in 1919, but the company still produces a range of primarily all-wheel drive vehicles, 4x4, 6x6, 8x8, 10x10, 12x12 trucks. Now, one of the most famous cars they ever made was the 603. Many believe it was what the VW Bug was based off of. Our friend Roman Micah from the Fast Lane Car and one of the world's most successful car websites and YouTube channels joins us on the phone. Roman, you have found one of these vehicles in Czechoslovakia and you're bringing it to America, is that right?
Yeah, we've got this crazy road trip idea where we're going to drive a Tatra from Prague all the way to Pebble Beach. Of course, not across the ocean, Nick, that would be crazy, but this year Pebble Beach, the Concours d'Elegance, which is kind of the world's most prestigious auto show, is having a special Tatra class to celebrate the history of this Czechoslovakian company. So we thought it would be fun to find one and drive it from Prague to Bremerhaven, Germany, stick it on a boat, pick it up in Baltimore, and then drive it across country all the way to Pebble Beach to celebrate the brand, which people here don't know. You just did a fine synopsis of the brand. One of the things that, and this is sort of inside baseball, but one of the things that people may not be aware of, which is kind of cool, is that Tatra not only sounds kind of weird, but it looks really cool. They produced the world's first aerodynamic automobile back before the Second World War. These crazy cars with these huge fins, big boxer engine out the back, really crazy-looking cars. If you know what the Chrysler Aeroflow looks like, well, think of that, but 20 years or 30 years before that car.
Now, how did you find this car, Roman? Because there's not that many of the 603s left, is there?
They built about 20,000 of them. They did build quite a few, and there are about 2,000 left still running around. I found it using the internet like everybody else. There's a Czech site that specializes in classic cars, so I went online and started poking around and found this one that looked like it was completely restored. And one of the challenges, of course, is driving this. It's actually a 1968 car, so driving this 45-year-old car across two continents is, making sure that it could make it. So I got on the plane, flew over to Prague, and met the guy who restored it, and started up the car, and next thing I know, the thing's smoking like like a bat out of hell, and I'm like, this is not going to make it to Bremerhaven, let alone to Pebble Beach. So I'm flying back on Saturday, actually. Hopefully, we've gotten the car fixed and it'll make the trip. So it's going to be quite the challenge.
Now you're filming the whole trip and basically making webisodes out of it, right?
Yeah, we're doing a whole video series. That's the reason that we're doing it, and that's the reason I'm not too stressed about the fact, because I figure, if it blows up on the Autobahn somewhere and I'm kind of sitting there forlornly watching this thing smoke, it'll make for a more interesting video, because then it'll be kind of a challenge trying to figure out what to do with it and how to get it to America. And if you're interested in the history, there's a really neat piece of automotive history that Tatra inspired, and it actually inspired the world's most popular car, which is the Volkswagen Beetle. Over 20 million of those things were made, right? So there was a guy by the name of Ludvinka who was this very innovative designer who came to Tatra before the Second World War, and he built this first aerodynamic car that we talked about. And then he thought to himself, you know what, this is a great car, but I'd like to build more of a people's car. And so he took this car and shrank it. So instead of having a 8-cylinder boxer, he made a 4-cylinder boxer, made it air-cooled, put it in the back. Does that sound like anything you may have heard of? His buddy at the time was this guy by the name of Ferdinand Porsche, and this is an absolutely true story. He goes to Porsche and he says, hey, what do you think of this touch drive design, this people's car? And at the exact same time, Porsche had been tasked by Adolf Hitler to design a people's car. So he says, hey, let me take a look at it. He takes a look at it, draws what became the Volkswagen Beetle, pens it, creates it, designs it, right? And Tatra finds out about this, the company, and Ludwinka says, hey, that's my design, you stole it, sues Volkswagen at the time, which was, pretty cheeky. And Ferdinand Porsche goes to Hitler, and he says, that people's car you wanted me to design? Well, there's a little issue. I may have kind of borrowed some of the design from this guy in Czechoslovakia. And Hitler says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. 2 weeks later, he invades the Czech Republic and nationalizes Tatra. This is an absolutely true story.
That's actually one missing piece of history, but that's super, super interesting. Now,
if you look at that car that Ludwinka designed, it looks exactly like a VW Beetle. I mean, the same little cute front end, the two little headlights, the Boxer 4 in the back, exactly like it.
Did they ever settle their differences?
Yeah. The lawsuit went back into effect. That's a great question. After the Second World War, and Volkswagen ended up settling for an undisclosed amount with Ludwinka's, actually the board members of Tatra at the time. So we don't know how much money it was, but the consensus is that Ferdinand basically stole the design for the Beetle from Ludwinka and Tatra.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to join us on your trip. You'll be able to call us in and as you're on your trip from Czechoslovakia all the way back to Pebble Beach, and you'll be able to call us and when that journey's taking place and be on the show, if that's a possibility.
I would love that. And if I can just throw a little pitch in, if you're interested in seeing what this car looks like, you can go to tflcar.com, and there's a link. The very first link on the navigation bar is Prague to Pebble or Bust. And just click on that, and there's a little video that kind of shows you what this thing looks like. It's pretty cool looking. And yes, of course, you will be the first guy I will call when the thing is smoldering on the side of the Autobahn. I will expect you to somehow help me.
Excellent. We'll follow your trip when you do that. Quickly, we've got about 30 seconds left. I was recently this week with you on the Lincoln MKC launch in Santa Barbara. Tell me what your perspective as an auto guy is on that new car, because we're going to have the designer on after the break.
I think the new car speaks to kind of the direction of Lincoln, and that is, I'm not sure Lincoln actually has the direction yet. The question is, what does Lincoln stand for? In the good old days, you could say the Zephyr, or, like those huge Continentals during the Kennedy era that had those suicide doors. I mean, that was a really powerful brand. But today, Lincoln is trying to find its way. They're kind of lost in the woods, and they're trying to do a brand image. So when they designed this car, the sense I got is that they kind of went right down the middle. They didn't necessarily make it too crazy, and they didn't make it too conservative. It's a fine car. It's right down the middle, but yet it doesn't necessarily capture the DNA of Lincoln. So I think those guys are still looking and trying to figure out really where they're going. And ask them that. That's a great question.
Yeah, and one of the things I think with the car is we really see a difference or a change in the fact that Lincoln aren't trying to conquer worlds. They're trying to make cars that people want to drive, right? Because this car, to me, it doesn't do the best in everything, but it's certainly a car I'd be happy to drive every day.
Yeah, it's a fine car, and they're really struggling with their demographics. Obviously the world of cars and technology is on a crash course right now, and cars are becoming much more interactive and interconnected, and everything basically that your iPad does, people expect their car to do now.
Right.
And yet Lincoln's demographics are older, and so how do you sell a car to an older generation that may not be comfortable with an iPad, and all of a sudden generation wants in their car?
You're absolutely right. Roman, we ran out of time. Thank you so much. The Fast Lane Car. We'll check you out online, my friend, and I'll talk to you real soon. You're listening to Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles on FM News 101.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with TestMiles.com. It's Test Miles on FM News 101.
Number one automotive show in town, by the way. I don't know if you knew that about us. Yeah, we are. Yeah. Welcome back to Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles. You're on FM News 101, 10:35 on a Sunday morning. And the Lincoln Motor Company, also known as just Lincoln, is a division of the Ford Motor Company that sells luxury vehicles under the Lincoln brand. Well, currently they sold primarily in North America and the Middle East. Ford will also be bringing Lincoln brand to China by the end of 2014. Originally founded in 1917 by Henry M. Leland, Lincoln has been a subsidiary of Ford since 1922. Now, Lincoln has been struggling to find their identity over the last few years, and some believe they did it with the MKZ. But they have a new approach to creating vehicles. What they do is they put 150 designers, technicians, and engineers in a room together, and they talk to each other. What a novel concept. The company is now emerging from their winter with signs of growth, new vehicles that really attract people to the brand again. And these new vehicles, like the MKC, blend performance, quality, and technology together. Dylan Blansky is one of those 150 that sit in that room together. He's the lead exterior designer for the MKC. Good morning, Dylan. How are you this morning?
I'm great. Thank you, Nick.
Tell me a little bit, what was the plan of the MKC from the beginning? What did you and your team have in their minds when they went to design this vehicle?
Well, so usually we kind of start out with a few kind of keywords or phrases and then some imagery. Some of those key words and phrases that we had, one was athletic grace. It kind of describes the overall proportion and the feeling that you would get from the car. So it's low, it's really wide, it's kind of planted to the ground, it's got some muscular shapes in it. And then it's also the graceful bit of it kind of helps you visualize this really flowing surface language that's in it. And then we also had this phrase that was warm and inviting, and it really helps to describe some of the features in the interior of the vehicle as well.
Now, you guys work really hard. I know that initially that you started with the base of the Ford Escape. That's what the platform that you were given. But you guys actually went a long way to make this very different than its sibling in the Ford company. Again, you talked about it being longer and wider and lower as well. But you really did a lot of quality changes on the vehicle, and the rear liftgate is something quite different that we've never seen before in a vehicle.
Yeah, so the clamshell liftgate is something that's unique for our portfolio. It was a challenge to do that design and engineering-wise, but it's something that we really pushed for, and everyone was behind it to get something that was unique for the portfolio and really do something exciting.
I notice, and the best way for me to explain this to someone, if you haven't seen the new MKC, and I'm sure you can go online and you'll see pictures of it. You'll probably go to TestMiles. We'll have them up on our website. But one of the interesting things about this vehicle is, and the best way for me to explain it, if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like an aircraft. And you've seen those aircraft where the whole nose opens up and you can drive vehicles inside of it. The liftgate at the back end is kind of like that. The whole liftgate, the whole back of the vehicle comes up, including the lights, right?
Correct. Yep. And so there was a lot of engineering that went into that and trying to make sure that we meet the legal standards with the lighting in the liftgate. And then because all the lighting is in the liftgate, when it's open, it doesn't meet the legal standards anymore. So we had to put some extra lighting in the lower rear fascia to meet those legal standards as well. So there was a lot of time and effort put into this whole process.
Now, on the exterior of the car, you did a lot with integrating this new front end, the Lincoln, we call it the waterfront grille, the waterfall grille at the front, but you used to put the lights and the grille all as one piece, right?
Yeah, we've kind of come to the term of split wing grille, right? So you kind of get this sense of this wings on the front of the vehicle if you look at like an eagle's wings kind of splayed out a bit. So you get the grille bars and the grille all integrated with the HID headlight.
And lighting is a big deal for you. I know that out the side mirror, when you walk up to the vehicle, one of the things I absolutely adore is that when the vehicle senses you coming, that it projects the Lincoln symbol onto the ground, kind of like the Batman symbol would be projected into the sky for Batman to come. Well, the Lincoln symbol is projected with a light out of the bottom of the mirror. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. It's all part of the Lincoln experiences that is a feature for this car. So when you approach the vehicle from about 8 feet away, the headlights, the signature LED in the headlight lights up, as well as the LED taillights light up. As you get a little bit closer, we're calling it our welcome mat, like you were describing. It's a bit of a symbol on the ground. It's got the Lincoln logo in it. Nicely lights the path to the door, and then also the door pockets are lit, so you have a good sense of where the light is in the door pocket, and you're able to open the door, and then a lot of that is incorporated into the interior as well. The ambient lighting is there to help create that warm and inviting feeling.
No, I will tell you, unfortunately, we didn't get to spend any time together, but I did spend a few days in Santa Barbara this week driving the vehicle around. There's a couple of things that I should note about it. First of all, there are 3 driving select modes that Lincoln has put into this vehicle. But once you put it in sport, don't bother changing it. You won't want it in any other drive. That sport drive to me was really fun, really dynamic. It's absolutely a great drive. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, you guys have a new feature on the inside. I know this isn't your specialty, but I know you can tell me a bit about it, Dylan, is you have this park out feature. Now tell me how that works.
Yeah, so it uses the same sensors that are incorporated into the parallel parking feature or the park in feature. And so when you put it in drive, there's a button that's next to the screen in the center of the IP. You push that button. You have to indicate which direction you're pulling out, whether it's on the left side or right side, and then the computer will walk you through this step by step on how to park out. All you have to do is control the brake, really, and the car does its thing, and it pulls you right out.
Now, how many times? Yeah, it's an amazing feature, because how many times have I walked up to a car when we've parked our car? A perfect example is outside of the radio complex here. You know, we have about 200 stations in this complex here. We walk out, we parked on the street, and somebody's parked like right next to me with like 3 foot each side instead of like 6 foot. How do you get out of that? Well, the car actually does it for you now. I think that's a great idea.
Well, you know, this is more of a case for me not to have to get a license. You know that, right? Like a car that will do that now on top of all this is going on. That's it. I'm not getting it.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm not even going to go there, because everybody in the audience right now is saying just another excuse for Andrew not to become a car driver.
Whatever.
Dylan, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Now, the MKC is in full production right now, starts around $33,000, and it's arriving in dealerships around now. Am I correct in saying that, Dylan?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us this morning on FM News 101 on Test Miles. We, of course, here on the show have lots to come up. We're going to talk about the cars that we have been driving this week, a little bit about some of the news items that we didn't get to the news quiz in the first segment, and then we'll give Andrew a really hard time on why he still doesn't have a driver's license. He's a professional passenger. You're listening to FM News 101. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com. Throw it in neutral and coast in with TestMiles.com.
10:49 on a Sunday morning. You're listening to Test Miles FM News 101. I'm Nick Miles. Brad, Sean, Ole, and Andrew in the studio this morning. And Andrew, you issued keys from the garage to allow us to test drive some vehicles. What keys did you give away this week?
Well, as usual, Nick, you're a greedy monkey, and took 2, the VW Jetta and the Mazda MX-5. I thought it'd be a good fit for Sean to have the Honda Accord Hybrid specifically this week. And Brad looked extremely handsome next to the Acura RDX, so I gave him that one.
Wow, car that makes you look more handsome. Why don't I have the Acura RDX? That's what I want to know. All right, let's talk a little bit about these cars. The first one, the Miata. Now, celebrating 25 years, this Mazda Miata it still maintains its position as one of the best roadsters ever built. Equal parts of fun and refinement. I think it's nice on the inside, the way it's put together. It's a compact and affordable package. It's most raced, the best-selling, 178-time award-winning car. And this one that I particularly had was the retractable hard top. The good things about it, it's definitely fun to drive and well-executed car. It's a winning formula. It's precise steering, and it's very agile handling. A timeless, great design, and I think affordable to own and to operate as well. It's a 2-liter engine, inline 4-cylinder. Drivetrain is rear-wheel drive. 5-speed manual is the one that I drove. The horsepower, 167, which for a very light car is quite adequate. 22.28 as far as miles per gallon. Starting price of $23,720. That's for the soft top. You want the retractable hard top, $28,665. There's 4 different versions. In the soft top, you can get a sport, a club, a touring, and there is a club with the retractable hard top version. I like the car, and I'm looking forward to driving their 25th anniversary version, which is coming up. In fact, if you watch my Fox Morning News segments this week, I named it as one of the 5 best convertibles for this summer.
And the retractable hardtop works pretty well and quickly, because the old days with the soft top and then the hard one that you had to lift off and store was kind of a pain.
They are generating them better and better all the time. It has its own compartment. It tucks away really nicely, and you do have to do some manual unhooking at the front. But at the same time, this car, for the price, where you can get the soft top starting at $23,000, it's pretty nice for a convertible hardtop 28. It's a good top for that price. If you want to spend $50,000 and get the BMW 4 Series retractable hardtop, you could buy 2 Mazda Miatas for that same price. The other car I drove is something that Sean's already had, was the VW Jetta TDI. Basically, this Volkswagen's Jetta is a pleasant, roomy sedan. Its improvements for 2014 include a new turbocharged gas engine, and they've made it more appealing, I think. We drove the TDI version, of course, which is the clean-burning diesel. Good. It's spacious interior. It's a spacious trunk, smooth ride, quality, good fuel economy and performance, especially the turbocharged engines, if you've driven one of those, is a lot of fun. The bad, I think the inside is still very plain on these cars. I just want VW to do what Jeep did and get a great interior designer and really blow those interiors up to be much better than they can. The quality is fine. It's just that I feel like VW interiors haven't changed since 1972. The engine was a 2-liter inline 4, drivetrain front-wheel drive, 6-speed manual auto. Horsepower 140. Of course, you don't need many horsepower if you have a diesel engine. It does take a few seconds to kick in once you put your foot down. Fuel economy, 30 in the city, 42 on the highway. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a crazy driver, so I don't get the 42 miles a gallon on the diesel engine. Starting price, $21,295. There are 5 versions of this vehicle. There is a gas 1.8-liter, a 2-liter gas as well. The TDI, of course, clean-emitting diesel, which is the one that I've been driving. The hybrid, which gets 48 miles a gallon on the highway, and then the GLI, which is kind of their GTI performance version of the car, which that is a nice car to drive as well. It's definitely very sporty. But I do really like this, and I've driven the hybrid too. I love this vehicle. It's just the interior that lacks. Sean, what about you?
The Honda Accord. I had so much fun with the 4-cylinder Accord a couple of weeks ago that I had to try this one, and I got great fuel economy with it. It's one of the only few hybrids out there I would actually buy. Considering you go out and buy a hybrid, you only get 2 miles better than usual. This one I was getting almost 15 miles better. I was averaging 46 miles to the gallon in it. Some of the bad things is the trunk space in it, because of the battery, is really tiny. I could only get 2 sets of golf clubs in there, and that was even pushing it. A lot of the good things is just there's a lot of tech with this car. It's a real nice luxury car, very quiet. Love the audio system in the car, and obviously gained 46 miles to the gallon. It's a great car. Starts out at 46,000. There's a few models with Accord. They have the 4-cylinder, the 6 cylinders, and they also have a coupe and the hybrid. But the hybrid is just the best one, I think.
Yeah, I mean it definitely is. But again, it's a little bit spendy, right?
The base price was 35,000. So right. That's, I mean, an average car, it's not too bad. But
would you have this or the Kia?
I don't know. The Kia
Optima hybrid, because I'm torn
I wouldn't buy the hybrid of that. I just buy the turbo, because like with that versus the hybrids, I take the Accord. It gets better fuel economy, but the Optima has more options inside of it. I mean, with an Optima in the same price, you're getting heated back seats, full panoramic roof. So,
all right, well, good. Brad, what about you?
I had one of the small luxury crossovers, the Acura RDX. And I drove my wife's 2006 Pacifica in today, which was kind of the early version of those crossovers, and they have really evolved. And back then, it was really a minivan, but I hadn't fallen in love with minivans yet, so I continued to emphasize that it was a crossover.
You got rid of your first batch of kids out the house,
I
you
did,
were
yes,
done with having
that's
to transport them.
But the one phrase that came to mind whenever I was driving this was borrowed from Seinfeld, was "Serenity now," because it was just this nice blend of performance and luxury, and it had actually a fairly impressive fuel economy. It has just had a redo in 2013, so for 2014, it's virtually unchanged, and it got rid of the turbocharged four-cylinder for the V6, and it gets you 20 and 28 for the front-wheel version. You only lose a mile for the all-wheel drive, which is pretty remarkable for a crossover vehicle like this. So it's a great value. I mean, there's a lot of really good features with this. Now, the tough thing for Acura on this, there's a lot of really stiff competition. The BMW X3, the Audi Q5, even the Range Rover, the Evoque comes into mind. But with a price starting in at $35,000 and a fully loaded tech version of this vehicle at only $40,000, it's really one of the most cost-effective luxury ones. Now, interestingly, last week I had the Nissan Rogue. It had 70 inches of cargo space interior. This only has 63. So it's interesting car to drive, but it's just Serenity now if you want that kind of vehicle.
Excellent. Thank you guys for being here on the show this morning. Of course, we will be back next week. Our website is testmiles.com. You can always go there and see all the latest news, views, and reviews. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Again, Test Miles. We enjoy being your friends, and thank you for listening to our show. We'll be back again next Sunday morning from FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick
Favorite
Miles.
us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.